That's probably the hill Jesus used to climb.
Yeah, that's why I put it on there.
Hmm.
Cool. Well,
Wonder where the spring is.
okay, we might have a picture of it here. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Roger Paul, and tonight, is this working over here? Give me one more second. It says it's working. Let's see here. Y'all excuse me for a minute. I'm trying to find out if this is taking notes or not. I think it is. I said it was. It's not taking notes like it normally does.
Yeah, somebody else.
Do we?
We did.
Oh, okay. Right now, there we're back to there. Hmm. Now that is odd. Y'all bear with me for 1 minute. We got extra time tonight.
Okay.
Let me make sure this is working here.
There is a sign that says the doctor's note taker.
Yeah, that should be it. There's Evan. He's up late. It's late there, isn't it?
Very late.
Hey, buddy.
Yes, indeed, it's late, but I was reading some books, so I decided to come and join you for a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Glad to have
Yeah.
you.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
this has crashed on me, so y'all bear with me 1 more minute. I'm trying to figure out why this is not recording tonight.
How do you pronounce your name?
Na Hulila Ivan.
No.
Na Hulila.
Okay.
Now when
Thank you, Mr. Ivan.
Yes,
Okay, I
I'm
think it's
humbled.
recording now. We'll see.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
got two of me up there, so it should be taking notes. Okay. Well, we're glad you're here.
Yes.
Either way, let's get started. Let me change the slide up here. This is modern day Nazareth. I had said that a little bit earlier. And so let me go up here. And this is copies of the Torah in the Jewish religion. And let's start from right here. Diane, you want to take the first one?
Nazareth was one of the 24 priest centers of the Hebrew nation, but the Galilean priesthood was more liberal in the interpretation of the traditional laws that were the Judean scribes and rabbis. And at Nazareth, they were also more liberal regarding the observation of the Sabbath. It was therefore the custom for Joseph to take Jesus out for walks on Sabbath afternoons, one of their favorite jaunts being to climb the high hill near their home, from which they could attain panoramic view of all Galilee. To the northwest, on clear days, they could see the long ridge of Mount Carmel running down to the sea. And many times Jesus heard his father relate the story of Elijah, one of the first of that long line of Hebrew prophets who reproved Ahab and exposed the priest of Baal. To the north, Mount Hermon raised its snowy peak in majestic splendor and monopolized the skyline, almost 3,000 feet of the upper slopes glistening white, while perpetual snow, with perpetual snow. Far to the east, they could discern the Jordan Valley, and far beyond the rocky hills of Moab. Also to the south and the east, when the when the sun shone upon their marble walls, they could see the Greco-Roman cities of, um, thank you, Decapolis, with their amphitheaters and pretentious temples. And when they lingered toward the going down of the sun to the west, they could make out the sailing vessels on the distant Mediterranean.
Roger, you're muted.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Okay. So I have about 3 or 4 pictures of modern day Nazareth. You've seen a couple of them here, but this is the road coming into Nazareth, apparently. And you can see down here in the corner, it looks like there's some kind of church or mausoleum or something there. Yeah, another interesting thing, this is the road coming in. You can see here the hillside here. So they may have lived something along the line on a hillside like this when Jesus was growing up. And this is what they call, let me get the notes here for it. This is called the Mount of Precipice, according to the local tradition. This is the mount where Nufians tried to push Jesus over the cliff. This is the cliff they think that they tried to push Jesus over, after he spoke in the synagogue. It is not a right angle cliff, but is a precipice enough for anybody falling to suffer from a very serious injury or death from it. So this is where they think that, well, tradition says they chased him up this hill and they were going to throw him over. Remember, he just turned around and walked right straight through him. Y'all remember that story?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember it saying they chased him.
I don't either, but
Well, they followed him up. He left.
Oh, from what I
Basically.
read, they actually took him.
Well, yeah. Well, you could say they carried him.
Somehow.
Right? Yeah. Okay. And that's what they're talking about here. Now, this is a picture of a couple with a couple things on it. Let me get the bigger one over here on my big screen so I can explain this.
That's a good mount.
This is Mount Carmel. Okay. So you can see here this little, get the right mouse. See this little red dot here?
Yep.
That's Mount Carmel.
Mount Carmel.
Okay, and there's references to that. You can see over to the right here a little ways. You can see Sepphoris. You can see Nazareth and Nains down in here. All these places, the reason I put this map in here is because these are the old towns or old cities during the period of time they talk about of Jesus. So a lot of the cities that he visited, this is a good map to see where they were. Chorazin, Capernaum, Bethsaida, places like that. Now, remember, Jerusalem would have been where? Further down on this map, right?
Yep.
Because Nazareth is north of Jerusalem. We all on the same page?
Bethlehem is north.
Bethlehem, no, Nazareth was north. Bethlehem was kind of to the east of Jerusalem, if I remember correctly.
You know what the scale is on this map?
No, that one doesn't have there's another one.
It's down at the bottom left. I
Oh,
can't.
there it is. Thank you. I can't read it, but there it is. Let's see. I'll get it.
There's another map there.
I think the
too.
top one, 1 to 5 miles, I think.
Yeah.
And then,
Oh, you're talking about the
which is in the
it
middle.
might be on the next map. Oh yeah, it's on the bottom of that. Can you
Yep.
see that?
Yeah.
0 to 5 miles, 10 miles at the
10.
bottom.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are just nice to be able to look at to see kind of what the area looks like. Now they're bigger and better on the website, Fifth Epical Revelation Fellowship.com or the Atlanta Urantia Study Group.org, either one. So you can look at them on that too. Do y'all want to see what those look like compared to this one?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
We got time tonight, so let me stop the share. Share again. And here we go. These are the bigger maps. It's hard to tell on your little screen, but these maps are the same thing. They're just a little bit bigger, so they're a little bit easier to see. And you can see on this bottom one down here, it's got Sekar and Jacob's Ware. And there's Mount Gerizim, which we're going to read about a little bit later too. Okay.
So 10 miles is
10 miles is about across
2
there.
inches.
Yeah, about 2 inches.
10 miles is about 2 inches.
Right.
okay.
All right. You can see that if you took that 10-mile thing and put it from where it says Mount Gerizim all the way over to here would be into Jacob's Well would be about 10 miles. All right. And this little red box shows you the area they're showing you on these maps. Okay. And this one is nice because it shows the Sea of Galilee and all the cities around it pretty well. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And what you have to remember is like Lake Gila is above the Sea of Galilee, right? Mm-hmm. Now we know that Jerusalem's a little bit farther down. Okay. Right. Okay. And there's the Jordan River going there.
I noticed they don't show Carissa. I think it's on the east side. And then the park that he fed the 5,000.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wonder where that is.
I'm not sure. Let's go back to our original here, before I forget where we're at. A lot of windows over there. If I can find it again. Here we go. Let's go on to the next one. Let's see who's next. Gary, would you take the next one, please?
Okay. From 4 directions, Jesus could observe the caravan trains as they wended.
Probably.
Winded.
Yeah, winded.
Okay. Wended their way
breathing.
in and out of Nazareth. And to the south, he could overlook the broad and fertile plain country of
Esdraelon.
thank you, Esdraelon, stretching off toward Mount Gilboa.
Yeah,
and Samaria.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so he could see 4 directions from his house that were pretty important, right?
Yeah.
If you think about it. And there's the second map, which we looked at in the bigger form. All right, so let's go on.
Well, I don't think from his house, but on that hilltop.
From the hilltop, yeah. Close to his house. That's what I meant, yeah. Okay, so let's go on to the next one. Bill, would you take the next one?
Sure. When they did not climb the heights to view the distant landscape, they strolled through the countryside and studied nature in her various modes in accordance with the seasons. Jesus' earliest training, aside from that of the home hearth, had to do with a reverent and sympathetic contact with nature.
And he got that from whom? His mother, right?
Yep.
She taught him about all the flowers and growing and things like that. She did a good job of that. So he had a pretty good idea about all the foliage and things like that in his as he was growing up. All right. Rodney, you get the short one.
Thought that was curious. Okay, before he was 8 years of age, he was known to all the mothers and young women of Nazareth who had met him and talked with him at the spring, which is not far from his home, and which is one of the social centers of contact and gossip for the entire town. This year, Jesus learned to milk the family cow and care for the other animals. During this and the following year, he also learned to make cheese and to weave. When he was 10 years of age, he was an expert loom operator. It was about this time that Jesus and the neighbor boy Jacob became great friends of the potter who worked near the flowing spring. And as they watched Nathan's deft fingers mold the clay on the potter's wheel, many times both of them determined to be potters when they grew up. Nathan was very fond of the lads and often gave them clay to play with, seeking to stimulate their creative imaginations by suggesting competitive efforts and modeling various objects and animals.
Now, interesting point about this is, the Jews thought it was sacrilege to make animals and objects and things like that out of clay. So for them to just do this was going against their own heritage. Okay,
Yeah.
so which is kind of interesting. Also, Jacob, we're going to find out in later papers here that Jacob was Jesus's self-appointed guardian angel, really. Okay, because Jacob always protected Jesus because he knew how Jesus felt about being non-combative. Okay, so
Wasn't Jacob wasn't he the stone mason's son? He was quite strong.
Yeah,
Yes.
he'd have big arms.
He'd have big arms, yeah. So he, was not a little guy anyway. So he always protected Jesus wherever they went. All right.
I thought it's interesting the social center and gossip for the entire town.
Yeah.
And Talkeetna, the little village in Alaska where I lived, the post office was
that, yeah.
where you would gossip.
Yeah. Hang out front, huh? Tell stories. All right. Pam, would you take the next one, please? His 8th year.
This was an interesting year at school. Although Jesus was not an unusual student, he was a diligent pupil and belonged to the more progressive third of the class, doing his work so well that he was excused from attendance 1 week out of each month. This week, he usually spent either with his fisherman uncle on the shores of the Sea of Galilee near Magdala, or on the farm of another uncle, his mother's brother, 5 miles south of Nazareth.
Okay, so because he was such a good student, they would give him 1 week out of the month to take off and do other things, which is kind of nice. And that's why he got to spend time fishing and spend time with his other uncle on the farm, that sort of thing. Now, the next slide is the calendar again for this year. And this is 2 AD. So you can look at the days and weeks on that if you like.
Roger.
Yeah.
I wonder how that method would work if in today's schools, that if the kids that was diligent in their work got the 4th week off, what that would do to the non-diligent ones.
It would be interesting to see, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be.
There was a Montessori school in Texas for the upper levels, and the whole class did so well in a short period of time. Then they would go out in nature, like camping, and so they would do that for a week.
That's great.
Yeah, that is great. That is great. Well, this is interesting because, like I told y'all, I was running this other new program and it seems to have crashed on one computer and it still says it's taking notes on our screen down here in the bottom, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
So it'll be interesting to see if it actually works. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, Diane, you're up.
Although his mother had become unduly anxious about the health and safety, she gradually became reconciled to these trips away from home. Jesus' uncle and aunts were all very fond of him, and there ensued a lively competition among them to secure his company for these monthly visits throughout this and immediately subsequent years. His first week's sojourn on his uncle's farm since infancy was in January of this year. The first week's fishing experience on the Sea of Galilee occurred in the month of May.
Okay, you're muted.
So it's kind of interesting how Jesus grew up and spent time fishing and on the farm and that sort of thing, just like other boys, right?
Yeah,
So
but what I
too.
find really interesting though is, as big as the country is, and as far as what is he, 6 or 7 or 8,
Uh-huh.
being able to walk that distance. I mean,
Yeah, they didn't.
nowadays there's so much crime.
Well,
You wouldn't let your
and
kid out.
that distance back then was thought of nothing because they walked everywhere, right? Now, you couldn't get somebody to walk down to the stores, half a mile away. They'd think that,
Yeah, but
Roger,
still,
Rodney,
letting your kid walk that far
yeah.
among
Mhm.
strangers.
Yeah.
Rodney, I did a little research, and you can check me on this. If I'm wrong, I'd gladly like to know. But when I was growing up, we walked everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we did too.
I
I
mean,
did
we
too,
had we
actually.
had bikes, but we got to a certain age where we were too old for bikes, and we walked everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
uh, anyway, my point is, and we didn't have any problems except for some other kids that we wanted to get in a fight with or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, uh, my point is, I got to curious how we could do that at that time, how much more safe my childhood was than the current day. So I did a Google search of crime statistics. Got to remember, I'm older than crud. Anyway, I found out that the crime rate when I was growing up was higher than what it is currently. I think the difference is it wasn't publicized then.
There's no way to report it to everybody back then except the newspapers,
Interesting.
right?
Well, we
Yeah.
had
It
television.
depends what
when
kind
I was
of
about
crime.
10, but
Yeah.
I think, children today can be more vulnerable, but, crime back then wasn't interested in kids.
Yeah. Well, the other thing back then too, that the news that was on was really news. It wasn't fake news like it is today. It's not just sensations and things like that. So it was different all the way around. Even the newspapers actually reported real news. It's kind of funny that we don't have really real newspapers anymore that do that in any city hardly, except Washington. And then, of course, they lie about everything. So,
in Washington, Tribune is not rated very high.
no.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be contaminated.
Yeah.
There's a news site called Ground News in which they give us news, and off to the side of the article, they have ratings. This is liberal. I mean, this is left leaning, right leaning. This is central, etc.
Yeah.
So you can pick and choose, and they'll have several articles on the same topic.
Yeah. I saw that. I have looked at that a little bit. It's kind of interesting. All right, Gary, would you take the next one?
See how short it is, Rodney? Be
I
jealous.
know.
About this time, Jesus met a teacher of mathematics from Damascus, and learning some new techniques of numbers, he spent much time on mathematics for several years. He developed a keen sense of numbers, distances, and proportions.
So he actually got some training in mathematics, right?
Mhm.
And that's good because going to the school, all they learned was from the scripture.
Yes.
Right.
They
Yep.
didn't, there was no mathematics taught
Yeah. Not in school anyway, right?
or science or anything else.
No. Of
Right.
course, there's none taught today either, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing's changed much, has it? It's actually taught, but nobody listens. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Bill, would you take the next? He's got a
Yeah.
long one too.
Yeah. Jesus began to enjoy his brother James very much, and by the end of this year had begun to teach him the alphabet.
Hmm.
All right, so Jesus began to teach his own brother. He taught all the kids.
Right.
How old was James at that time?
I don't know if it says there.
Well,
Did it?
Jesus is
Oh.
8. James was the second.
Yeah, you could figure it out. I think it was around 4 or something like that. 4 or
Yeah.
5. Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
All right. Rodney, you can have the next one.
This year, Jesus made arrangements to exchange dairy products for lessons on the harp. He had an unusual liking for everything musical. Later on, he did much to promote an interest in vocal music among his youthful associates. By the time he was 11 years of age, he was a skillful harpist and greatly enjoyed entertaining both family and friends with his extraordinary interpretations and able improvisations.
Improvisation. Yeah, you don't think of Jesus as a musician much, do you?
Well,
No.
they said he had a musical voice,
Yeah.
whatever that
So-
means.
It probably
Well, he had
helped
the long hair.
Yeah.
I think everybody back then had long hair.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Weren't any barbers around, right?
Mm.
Beauticians. Pam, would you take the next one, please?
While Jesus continued to make enviable progress at school, all did not run smoothly for either parents or teachers. He persisted in asking many embarrassing questions concerning both science and religion, particularly regarding geography and astronomy. He was especially insistent on finding out why there was a dry season and a rainy season in Palestine. Repeatedly, he sought the explanation for the great difference between the temperatures of Nazareth and the Jordan Valley. He simply never ceased to ask such intelligent but perplexing questions.
Okay, so he was your typical youth wanting to learn everything at the same time, right? All right. And let's say, I think I'll take the next one. His third brother Simon was born on Friday evening, April 14th of this year, 82. So you can go back and look at that
Yeah.
calendar I had and see if that's on Friday. The April 14th was on a Friday. See if that calendar's right. Okay. Let's see here. Diane, you're back.
Okay. In February, Nahor, one of the teachers in a Jerusalem academy of the rabbis, came to Nazareth to observe Jesus, having been on a similar mission in Zechariah's home near Jerusalem. He came to Nazareth at the instigation of John's father. While at first he was somewhat shocked by Jesus' frankness and unconventional manner of relating himself to things religious, he attributed it to the remoteness of Galilee from the centers of Hebrew learning and the culture, and advised Joseph and Mary to allow him to take Jesus back with him to Jerusalem, where he could have the advantages of education and training at the center of Jewish culture. Mary was half persuaded to consent. She was convinced her eldest son was to become the Messiah, the Jewish deliverer. Joseph hesitated. He was equally persuaded that Jesus was to grow up to become a man of destiny. But what that that destiny would prove to be, he was profoundly uncertain. But he never really doubted that his son was to fulfill some great mission on earth. The more he thought about Nahor's advice, the more he questioned the wisdom of the proposed sojourn to Jerusalem.
Roger.
I said, this is kind of a major decision for them, because if they agreed to it, they would leave Jesus as the son there in the house. And the interesting part, if he would have went away, he would have had to come back because of the death of his father, right? So it wouldn't have worked out anyway. So it seems like they made the right decision. Gary, would you take this last paragraph of this paper?
Yep. Because of the difference of opinion between Joseph and Mary, Nahor requested permission to lay the whole matter before Jesus. Jesus listened attentively, talked with Joseph, Mary, and a neighbor, Jacob the stonemason, whose son was his favorite playmate, and then 2 days later reported that since there was such a difference of opinion among his parents and advisors, and since he did not feel competent to assume the responsibilities for such a decision, not feeling strongly one way or the other in view of the whole situation, he had finally decided to talk with his Father who is in heaven. And while he was not perfectly sure about the answer, he rather felt he should remain at home with my father and mother, adding, who love me so much should be able to do more for me and guide me more safely than strangers who can only view my body and observe my mind, but can hardly truly know me. They all marveled, and Nahor went his way back to Jerusalem. And it was many years before the subject of Jesus gone away from home again came up for consideration.
So that was the one and only time that he was invited to Jerusalem to live, and so that did not work out. And that is the last paragraph on this paper, believe it or not. So the next one is paper 124, the later childhood of Jesus. Let's go to our prayer of acceptance here.
Oh, it's short.
Yeah, it's short paper. All right, so we'll take up 124 on Tuesday. This is Thursday,
Okay.
right? Okay. Who hasn't done the prayer? Let's let Bill read the prayer of acceptance, since he's been away. He hadn't read it for a while.
Okay. Prayer of acceptance. I believe that God is my paradise Father, and only by faith am I saved. No sacrifice is necessary. But this same faith, by this same faith, I became a child of God, and know that all men and women are my brothers and sisters. We know the Son of God, the sovereign of our universe of Nebanon, as Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. By allowing the will of God to become my will, I will someday stand in the presence of the Paradise Father. In the name of Christ Michael, Jesus of Nazareth. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Anybody have any questions about this paper? No?
Pretty clear.
Pretty clear, isn't it? These Jesus papers are pretty straightforward all the way through. Okay, y'all. I guess we'll see everybody on Tuesday. Tuesday, that's right. Thanks everybody at home for joining us. Please go out and subscribe to us if you haven't already done so on YouTube and Vimeo and Zoom, that sort of thing. Another announcement I need to make is that the videos on Facebook as of this week will be deleted after 30 days. I got a notice of that a couple days ago from Facebook. Normally they stay on there for a long period of time. Well, they're starting to delete all the videos that you post on Facebook after 30 days. So if there's any particular any particular papers you want to see, you can find them all on YouTube or Vimeo, either one. They're all copies of everything out there too. But if you want to get them off of Facebook, you need to download them before 30 days is over. But still, if you listen to us on Facebook, please still subscribe. That still includes us getting the videos out there to folks, that sort of thing. So,
They'll still appear on the website, though.
huh? Yeah,
They'll still be on the website.
they'll still be on the website, and they'll definitely be on YouTube and places like that too. So,
Sounds like YouTube is controlling their memory bank.
yeah, I think that's that might be the case, or you mean Facebook? Because YouTube's keeping them on there and Facebook's not. Of course,
Yeah,
YouTube
that's
has
what I
a
meant.
reason. Yeah, YouTube has a reason to keep all the videos out there because it's like a TV show that keeps all this data and all this information for all sorts of things out there all the time. And the more they have, the more apt people are to go out to YouTube.
It's like modern day encyclopedia.
It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can find on YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if this transposed on Otter or not. I don't know if it did, but it'll be out there. I'll send it out tomorrow as soon as the transcript comes up. So I will let y'all know when it's out there.
Thank you,
Okay.
Roger.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger.
Y'all have
Thank
a
you.
great night. I love you guys. We'll see you later.
Okay.
Take
Bye.
care. Goodbye.
Bye
I'll see
bye.
you all.
See you again, Bill.
Yep. We'll see you Tuesday.
All
All
right.
right.